All right, everybody, welcome back to Horn Takes, your Texas football and baseball talk destination. I am Sean Redfern, and it is Red River Shootout Eve. Red River Shootout Eve. We are less than 24 hours away. Actually, we're a little bit over 24 hours away from the kickoff of the Red River Shootout. We sure are getting excited about that. We're going to enjoy the fair today. We're going to enjoy the fair tomorrow. All the terribly delicious foods, deliciously terrible foods. That's a better way to say it. They're all delicious, but they're so bad for you. But it's one time a year, folks. One time a year we'll get just totally obnoxious with our food choices. By the time this drops live for you guys, I'll be at the fairgrounds. Probably have already pounded a corn dog or two, a lot of wax cup beers. We'll be checking out all the exhibits. We just bought a new vehicle, so we'll probably go to the car show and find something else that we should have got instead of what we did get. It's the way humans are, right? Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Just like to listen to podcasts, we got you covered. You can find us on Apple Podcast, iHeart Podcast, Spotify Podcasts. You can even go to horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com and find all the podcast episodes. It's Friday. You know what that means. It's Four Keys and Prediction, and this is the Red River Shootout edition. Let's get it. First of all, this Red River Shootout has just always been sort of the cliche bowl. And what I mean by that, when you start thinking about the keys to victory, it's almost always one, two, three of those cliche things that we always say that you just, people always say them, but like they really do count. So it's like you can't not say it. It's hard to come up, it's hard sometimes to just come up with something different to talk about for a game when you start talking about keys. Sometimes it does just boil down to certain things. And I think the Red River Shootout has always been like that. Let's talk about those certain things. First of all, key number one, you have to be careful with the football. This blow you offense, not good at all, but I think they have some big playability. That quarterback scares me to death. And I've been afraid of running quarterbacks for a long, long time. I just think that a running quarterback puts so much pressure on a defense. They can find so many ways to beat you. It's just really tough to defend, and it's tough to do it consistently, and it's tough to keep them from getting big plays. So I think there's some big playability there. Deion Burks, questionable. That kind of makes me think, even if he does play, he's not going to be 100%. And honestly, I don't know the nature of his injury. But if it's anything to do with the lower extremity, he won't be as explosive as Deion Burks that we're used to seeing. Start turning the ball over, you give them extra possessions, give them extra opportunities to make plays. And Brent Venables' defenses, folks, have always, always, always been very, very opportunistic. They take the ball away. They put a lot of pressure on you. They bring a lot of exotic blitzes. They bring it from all different directions. Playing against Brent Venables from a quarterback perspective has got to be, besides the physical taxing your body takes probably from getting hit a lot, it's got to be like the most mentally challenging game of the season. He's good. Good at what he does. That's why he's where he's at. When Texas loses this game, historically, turnovers are a big part of why. I mean, I can think back I can think back to a lot of Red River shootouts, and the turnovers just absolutely have killed Texas in the last, we talked earlier this week. We've only won 8 of the last 25. Turnovers played such a huge factor in almost all of those losses. I think Texas has been really clean so far this year offensively, outside of a couple games. They had a couple interceptions in a game, and then they had a couple fumbles last game against Mississippi State. So you kind of want to see them be clean. I think Texas can afford to turn the ball over and still win this game. I think they were a better team last year, Oklahoma. And they turned the ball over 3 times, 4 times if you count the goal line stand that Oklahoma had. and we still almost won that game. I think Texas can turn it over and win, but why do it? It's just bad. It's just bad business. You don't want to turn the ball over. Key number 2, limit big plays on the ground. Another one of these cliche things, but the team that stops the run in this game wins this game a very, very, very high percentage of the time. Even when both teams have been primarily passing teams, the team that can stop the run, the team that can rush the ball, they win this game. The running game has always been very important in this game. I think it's like a very minuscule amount. It's like 2 or 3 out of the last 25. The team that didn't lead in rushing won the game. So it's very important. And you know what? Those games were probably turnover games. I don't think Oklahoma's very good traditionally this year running the ball, but they got that X factor in Michael Hawkins. We just talked about that a minute ago. I think they're going to scheme some stuff up. I think they're going to try to take advantage of the fact that Michael Hawkins is a good athlete, and it's tough to defend that quarterback running. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard to defend like someone running from the quarterback position that you can put like anybody back there and they'll get yards. It's just tough to account for that guy. It's hard to scheme that up because you really can't. Like the numbers just don't jive. If you account for him, you're leaving a hole somewhere else. So I think the key in that situation, if you're gonna account for him, mix up where that hole's at. If you keep doing the same thing over and over again, they're gonna get savvy to that. They're gonna figure out a way to bust your ass. We saw Dylan Gabriel last year really hurt Texas on the ground. I mean, honestly, you never can pinpoint specific things necessarily in a game and say that's what cost us the game. But that was huge for Oklahoma. He got them out of a lot of jams with the just sort of the off play run. They have to find a way to keep Michael Hawkins from being able to do that successfully. I think he's going to get it. I think he's going to do it, and he's going to do it some probably well. They just got to make it to where he just doesn't do it over and over and over again. We talked about it for 5 weeks, 6 weeks now. Texas is leaky in the run game. But really nobody has been able to consistently run the ball against them. So I think if you limit those big plays, cut down on that leakiness a little bit, Texas defense in really good shape running the football or stopping the run rather. Be the storm, man. I won't say that we coined this phrase because we probably absolutely didn't. I don't hear a lot of guys say it. I hear a lot of people talk about weathering the storm, but I don't hear a lot of people talk about being the storm. And we started talking about being the storm last year at the Alabama game. That was in our 4 keys and a prediction for Alabama. Be the storm. And Oklahoma is starting a true freshman quarterback. It's only his second start ever. It just happens to be in a big ass deal of the Red River Shootout. I mean, this is an absolute massive weakness for Texas to attack. Texas is more talented, they're more experienced, they're deeper, they're healthier. Don't wait. Don't wait. Don't try to survive the chaos of the first few minutes of this game. Don't be the chaos of the first few minutes of this game. To me, that's what being the storm means. Like, I'm not going to sit here and try to weather what's going to happen because it's going to be wild. 2 seasons ago, Texas jumps out to a 20, or no, excuse me, 3 seasons ago, Texas jumps out to a 21-0 lead. And then they came out in the second half and just kept making mistake after mistake after mistake. They just could not hold on to that lead. Oklahoma came all the way back, won that game. Last year, Oklahoma gets the big play and the big touchdown early, and it seemed like the whole first quarter, Texas was just trying to weather the storm. This Texas roster is way better than that Oklahoma roster. Way better. There is no reason why they shouldn't come out and just absolutely start kicking the shit out of Oklahoma from jump. until the final second ticks off the clock in the fourth quarter. Finish. Something that Steve Sarkisian teams haven't been really in the Steve Sarkisian era at Texas. Texas was not good at finishing games. I was talking to Kyle Umling last week, and he mentioned it. We used to score a bunch of points early, and then we couldn't hold on to leads. Now we we still have some games where we score a lot, but I think we spend more of the first half learning about the opponent, and so that we can adjust to that in the second half, and then really kind of open it up. That's kind of what I expect to see in this game. You got to finish key situations. Finish the end of the first half. Don't give up points. Or if you do, minimize those points. Or if you got an opportunity to score points, score points. Finish the beginning of the second half. Same deal. If you're on defense, let's not let them score. If they do score, let's make it minimal. If we're on offense, let's go get a touchdown. Field goal at least. And then obviously finish the end of the second half. You go back to the game last year, they did not do either of those three things. Oklahoma scored 2 touchdowns and a field goal in those 3 situations last year. So if they just do 1 out of 3, Texas wins that game. And then just finish below you, man. Just finish Oklahoma. There will be at least one opportunity in this game for Texas to just finish Oklahoma for the day. These opportunities come up in every single game where it's right there. You're right there on the cusp of just putting the boot completely down on their neck, not letting them up. If you execute in those moments, the game is over. Texas has to take advantage of that tomorrow. Oklahoma, they're outmatched, but that doesn't mean they're not good. That doesn't mean they don't have good coaching staff. If you let those guys hang around, especially in a rivalry game, and you let those fans pretend they got a chance to come back and win this game and they stay in the game, you got some problems. We've already seen them. We've already seen what they could do this year when you let them hang around. Auburn let them hang around, couldn't finish them. Pick 6, they win the game. Listen, folks, I know this might be blaspheme. Sooner Magic is real. It's gotten us 2 of the last 3 games over in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. It's gotten us many, many times before that. If you're Texas, you can absolutely not afford to let that be a factor in this game. When you get your opportunity, finish. So there's our 4 keys for the game. Now on to the prediction. On paper, this is a runaway game for Texas. We all know that. Everybody knows that. Even Oklahoma fans know that. The Oklahoma coaching staff knows that. I think Texas is better at every single position outside of maybe 2. And these are probably just kind of 50-50 deals. Linebacker and defensive back. I think Oklahoma's got some really good linebackers, and they got one really outstanding one. And then they got some dogs in the secondary. I know Texas does too. That's why I say it might be a 50-50 type deal. Texas has more quality depth than Oklahoma. Texas is absolutely 100% better at the most important skill position on the field, quarterback. And Texas is a 14.5-point favorite. So the deck is stacked soundly against Oklahoma in this game. There's something to watch for in this game. It's an external factor, the temperature. I checked the forecast this morning, and I've been checking it for about the last week, and that thing has gone from 90 degrees a week and a half or so ago all the way up to 96 degrees as of this morning for the high on Saturday, which has to be the absolute hottest Red River shootout in the history of Red River shootouts. There will be no clouds. It is going to be sunny. There is like a 1% chance of rain. There's a big ass high pressure system over our part of the country. There ain't going to be no clouds, no rain. Sunny and hot. This game is going to be absolutely brutal for the players, coaches, and fans. We just talked about it. Oklahoma's missing a lot of guys, which means before they even take a snap, their depth is taking a hit. So those guys are going to be dragging ass at the end of 60 minutes in the Cotton Bowl. Win, lose, or draw, those Oklahoma guys, and it'll be all of them, but it's just less of a factor for Texas because they have so much depth everywhere. I think the other thing people don't think about is that type of weather can really dampen the atmosphere, can really dampen the crowd involvement for the fans of the team that's struggling. It will be, if either one of these teams starts to struggle and the other team gets some significant momentum in this game, the crowd is going to shut down. And at some point during all of that, the crowd is just going to leave because 96 degrees in metal bleachers with the sun beating down on you for 2.5 hours, that just gets you to halftime. I mean, if you come into the game early enough to see the pregame festivities, it's 2.5 hours at least of being in the sun before halftime. So watch for that in this game. You might see the fastest half side of that stadium clear out that you've ever seen in Red River Shootout history. So I think a fast, clean start is really, really important for Texas. I think getting the bye week when they did was perfect for Texas. It got them healthy. They got some guys out, but all the main guys that they've been counting on all season back in the lineup more than likely. Got Derek Williams Sr., safety. He's been out for a couple weeks. He's probable. Quinn Ewers probable. And not only did it get him healthy, it got him an opportunity to sort of get refocused. They had a really sloppy game against Mississippi State. Penalty wise, turnover wise, not your best effort, and not the way you want to play in any kind of football game, much less an SEC conference game. When you got so much on the season, so much riding on the season each and every week, like Texas does right now today, you do not want to play like that. They did, but they still won by 3 scores. It's kind of like, the kid playing with fire. If he keeps playing with the fire, but he doesn't get hurt, he's going to keep playing with the fire. And I think where Texas is kind of lucky is they had the bye week last week. They got to sit there and watch 5 of the top 11 teams in the country get beat. And that'll snap you back into reality. And some of them got beat by teams that, I mean, let's be honest, nothing against this Vanderbilt team. They're playing really well right now, but I'm not sure they're not just still Vandy. I mean, obviously they're better than they were last year, but there's a long way to go for them. It's still Vandy. Alabama lost to Vandy in a game that wasn't fluky. They just lost. So I guess the moral of the story is if Alabama can go into Vanderbilt and lose to Vanderbilt, then anybody can get beat by anybody during this SEC schedule. I think we see a really dialed in Texas team and coaching staff in the Red River Shootout on Saturday. I think that Oklahoma is going to come in fired up. I think they're going to have a good game plan. They're going to have the best game plan they can have with what they got. And I think they'll execute that pretty well early on. And then you've always got the Red River Shootout gods that'll do weird shit in this game. So I think this game's relatively close for a half. I think as you move into the second half, Texas with that superior talent, that superior depth will start to take this game over in the second half. And actually, I think Texas gets back to covering this week. They didn't cover against Mississippi State after covering every other game this season. They're going to get back to covering this week, and they're going to do it in a really, really big way. Texas is going to win the 2024 edition of the Red River Shootout 41-13. So there you have it, folks. There's our 4 keys and a prediction. We will be back Sunday, probably late Sunday afternoon. We're driving back. We'll have Drunk Sean thoughts. Check us out on TikTok and X this weekend. We'll have some in-depth coverage of the State Fair of Texas, food, famous people, whatever. I'm going to try to, people recognize me, come say hello. I'm going to try to get some predictions on video. We'll put those things up. So if you see us at the fairgrounds, come by and say what's up. Find us on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Give us a subscribe. Give us a follow. Won't cost you guys a thing. We sure appreciate the support. You can email me at horntakespodcast@gmail.com. That's horntakespodcast@gmail.com. With all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. Little over 24 hours out. Let's get ready, Texas Longhorns. Let's go beat the hell out of OU in the Cotton Bowl and the Red River Shootout. You guys get hooked.